Well, hi guys. Welcome. And who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. I don't have much of anything prepared today, but I want to talk about the recent move by the Saints. We release wide receiver Brandon Cooks, and now between that and trading away Rashid Shaheed, our wide receiving core has taken a big hit. And that's what I want to focus on today, the state of the wide receivers for the Saints. And yeah, what direction are we going to go in next? I mean, we trade Brandon Cooks away. Okay, it was a mutual thing. He didn't want to be here. I think Brandon Cooks was under the assumption we were going to be competing this year with Derek Carr as quarterback. Hey, man, look, the Saints were willing to pay Brandon Cooks $6.5 million a year for 2 years. I think we guaranteed 7 million of it. So was Brandon Cooks a hot commodity when we signed him? I didn't like the signing. I like Cooks as a player. I just thought it was a little redundant to go and get a guy that's sub 6 foot with a lot of speed who's kind of aging, so doesn't really have that top end speed anymore. But to go and get a guy like that when we already had Chris Olave, who's 6 foot, and Rashid Shaheed, who was right at 6 foot, a little under 6 foot, and all these other receivers on the team at the time. Nobody with size. I mean, Bub Means has size at 6 foot 1. Now we've got Jalen Polk, who's 6 foot 1. We've got Trey Palmer, who's 6 foot 1. So maybe 6 foot 1 is the new norm around here. With Rashid Shaheed, who was like 5'11, and Brandon Cooks 5'10, with both of them gone, well, now the new norm for the receiving core is 6 foot, 6 foot 1. So maybe that's the kind of receiving core that Kellen Moore wants to build. I look at the roster, I look at the receiving core now. I mean, it was bad. We only had 4 players. We still only have 4 players. We got rid of Rashid Shaheed that brought us down to 4, and then now we release Brandon Cooks and we elevate Kevin Austin Jr. from the practice squad to the active roster. This is attrition. The word is attrition. We are adding to our receiving core knowing we're getting worse because yeah, if Kevin Austin Jr. was capable of making something happen on this roster, he would have been on the active roster at the beginning, and he would have stayed on the active roster. This is a move of attrition. We have 4 receivers on the team now, again, with Chris Olave, Devon Vele, Mason Tipton, and now Kevin Austin Jr. Remember last year when we lost our number 1 and number 2? It's starting to feel that way. Chris Olave's still here for now, so we've lost our number 2 and our number 3 this year in the span of 2 weeks instead of our number 1 and our number 2 like we did last year. But yeah, this is kind of ugly. As a matter of fact, I think we can probably go and get a veteran wide receiver for pretty cheap and put on this roster right now, and I'd feel a little better about it. We've got too many bodies at cornerback. We need to release Michael Davis. He's never going to see the field. Is he doing anything on special teams? I don't know. We've got enough pieces in front of Isaac Yadam. Let's just release Michael Davis at cornerback and go and get a veteran wide receiver. Now, a move like that would signify that the Saints are trying to win now, and we all know we're in a rebuild mode. So, a lot of people would be against a move like that. Go and get a veteran that's not going to be part of the future. But God, we need help. Whether you think this team should be playing nothing but young people or not, I'm sorry, but playing Kevin Austin Jr. and Mason Tipton, I don't see how this is going to turn out to be, groundbreaking. Neither one of those players is gonna have a breakout rest of the year. I'm willing to bet. We have a lot of faith in Mason Tipton, maybe with Tyler Shuck at quarterback having some a lot of time with Mason Tipton. I mean, he probably had a lot of time with Kevin Austin Jr. too. Maybe we'll see something there. Maybe bring up Dante Pettis from the practice squad. Maybe there's a connection there between Shuck and all of these backups that were on the scout team and third team offenses all off season and stuff. Yeah, I'm not buying it. If you think Mason Tipton's going to turn into the kind of wide receiver that this team needs, playmaker, somebody who's a bona fide on the field every down is going to make it happen for you kind of guy, that I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening with Vele, and I'm not going to hold my breath on Trey Palmer either. Jalen Polk may be a guy, and we'll see what happens. But this wide receiving core is just depleted right now. And I'm going to include Devon Bailey, Mason Tipton, all of them. Dante Pettis, practice squad guys too. Kevin Austin, Trey Palmer, Jalen Polk, Chris Olave. I'm not sure if Ronnie Bell is still on the practice squad or not. I know for certain we signed Jaquan Jackson to the practice squad, former Tulane Green Wave wide receiver who I really liked. I thought he would be an interesting seventh round guy to go and get. I believe the Titans picked him up after the draft. The Titans have released him, and we grabbed him and put him on our practice squad. Uh, this is what we're working with, guys. How are we going to make this team better at wide receiver? I think for right now, you go and get a veteran just because you need the bodies. I mean, it's one thing to put youth out there. It's another thing to put youth out there that's not going to turn into anything. I mean, if we had Bub Means healthy right now, he'd be playing. If Trey Palmer were healthy, he'd be playing. Jalen Polk. I would like to see Bub Means, Trey Palmer, and Jalen Polk. I would like to see that. That would be rebuilding and doing it right. Okay. But not having those guys who are ahead on the depth chart of what you're putting out there, Mason Tipton, Kevin Austin, maybe Dante Pettis again. No, I'd rather go get a veteran and try to win, try to give Shuck something to work with, right? So we can at least develop Shuck, that kind of stuff. What do we do for the future, though? We sign a veteran this year. It's not a future move. So what do we do for the future? Well, we were prioritizing wide receiver in the draft. And I thought I'd go and get a big bodied wide receiver was the move to make. I'm thinking now you might want to address wide receiver more than once in the draft. If you don't go and get part of your future through free agency next year, which might be difficult to do, go and get a guy who's young, who is definitely going to make an impact, but is also cheap. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. We've got guys like that on the team now, guys under contract that are cheap. Jalen Pope, Trey Palmer, Devon Bailey, and we hope that one of these guys, or all of them, turn into something good. But yeah, I think in the draft, I'm starting to see a scenario where we address wide receiver more than once, especially if you can get a really good one. I did a draft the other night where I drafted Cornell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, with my first round pick. I had traded down a couple of times, so I had acquired extra picks. And when the second round came up, wide receiver Chris Bell out of Louisville was still there, and I went ahead and grabbed him. And I thought it was nuts. But I had picked up a couple extra second rounders. I had picked up an extra first rounder, and I'd picked up a couple extra second rounders, a couple extra third rounders. I love trading down in my mock drafts. And yeah, I got Cornell. This was before we cut Brandon Cooks. I drafted Cornell Tate in the first round and Chris Bell in the second round. Everybody else find a place. And then I think it was last night I did one where I got Cornell Tate in the first round again. And in the third round, uh, the receiver from USC was still there. Oh, what's his name? Jacoby Lane. That's the guy. Mikhail Lemon is a first rounder. Jacoby Lane is usually a second rounder. He was there in the third round, so I grabbed him too. And yeah, it felt pretty good last night. Like, yeah, we might need to do this. You get a guy in the first round. We got so many needs. We have one first round pick. I keep imagining that we trade down, but our pick may end up pretty low. We might not end up with pick 5 or 6. We might end up with pick 10 or 12. So trading down, I'm not sure if it's going to happen. Wide receiver, you have so many needs. If you only have one pick in the first round, one pick in the second round, one pick in the third round, then you might not be grabbing two wide receivers. But you've got two fourth round picks. You've got two fifth round picks. And there's some depth in the draft at wide receiver this year. I think there's some guys that'll probably get taken really high that shouldn't. And there'll be some guys that are still hanging around. I'm not sure what you really want to be looking for. A lot of the guys I draft in the mocks, wide receivers in the day 3, late rounds, they're usually guys that I feel like in real life would be gone already. These simulations, they try to get it, good, but right now, in most of the sites, you can get Elijah Surratt, the wide receiver from Indiana, big guy. You can get him in the late third, fourth round. And I don't think that's going to be the case in reality. I think Surratt's going to be a round 2 guy, probably at the latest. There's a couple of other players. Jeremy Bernard, the wide receiver for Alabama, who I love. You can usually get him in the third round in these simulators. He might end up being a second round guy too. Guys I really like in the draft in the first round, of course, everyone likes Jordan Tyson. He's the number one receiver. He's out of Arizona State. He's 6'1", right at 200 pounds. So, yeah, we've got that on our team already. But he's a special player. Not unlike Chris Olave, good hands, good route runner all around. He plays pretty tough for 6'1". But like I said, we've got types like that. People want to say he's the number one receiver, and that's great. My number one guy is Cornell Tate out of Ohio State because he's 6'3". You know, 200 and something pounds, not too thick, but and he makes good contested catches. So his height is an advantage, and he shows it on the field. He uses it to his advantage all the time. Good hands. I like Cornell Tate. He more fits the body type we don't have, and is still a playmaker, just like Jordan Tyson. So I kind of lean towards Cornell Tate. Makai Lemon out of USC. He's 5'10", but he is a playmaker. Now, I would say you focus on size because we don't really have the size. Well, we've gotten a lot taller since getting rid of 5'11" Rashid and 5'10" Cooks. Like I say, the average height of the receivers on our team now are 6'1". So, is there a place for a 5'10" guy? If he's a playmaker, yeah. So guys like Makai Lemon, it won't depress me if we draft him in the first round because we don't have Rashid Shaheed anymore. We don't have Cooks anymore. So there's not a redundancy there. This guy will be a playmaker, and even though he's smaller, yeah, actually being a playmaker, especially a guy who can make run after catch, that's something we're missing on this team sorely as well. So Lemon would be all right. I really like Jacoby Lane, though, the other USC receiver, because he's, 6'4", I think. Who else is good? In the first round, I like Denzel Boston, the wide receiver out of Washington. He's going to be a first round pick, and he's big too, 6'3", and a little thicker than Carnell Tate. He's closer to 215 kind of deal. So Boston, Denzel Boston's a solid player. I'm not sure if he gets open as consistently as Cornell Tate can, but Boston's good at contested catch. Tate seems to be, the ace at it. Jordan Tyson's really good at it too. But Denzel Boston's a guy I really like because of his size. Chris Brazzell out of Tennessee has really good size. A lot of people think, even though he's really fast, he's only got straight line speed, is the way they're kind of looking at it. And they kind of expect him to be able to develop. He's got really good size, height, and speed. So Brazel's been playing football for a long time, and he's doing well at Tennessee. I like a guy like that. I'm not sure he would ever develop into a number one, but he would provide a size you don't have, and with that element of speed, it's intriguing. Another guy like that is Nicholas Harbor out of South Carolina. Now, this guy fluctuates anywhere from the second round to the fifth round. He is a bit inconsistent, and I think that there is a lot left to be desired on his tape this year. But man, he's really fast. Nick Harbor is 6'5", 235 pounds, somewhere around there. So he is almost tight end size, but he is fast, like track speed champion fast. And you would think a guy that big, that fast would just be a first rounder, and yeah, but no, he's inconsistent and he needs a lot of work. So that's why he fluctuates on these boards and some sites. Yeah, I usually draft him. If he's still there on day 3, I draft him, especially if I hadn't addressed size yet, at wide receiver. Nick Harbor's another one of those guys where maybe it's just the straight line speed. He has trouble getting open. Otherwise, he would have more catches. He's a dominant physical specimen. And so you expect a lot. But he may be a guy who's going to develop eventually. And with those tools, whew, it's worth developing. The other guy I really like in the second round is Chris Bell out of Louisville. He's 6'2", and he is tough SOB, 225 pounds, somewhere's around there. He gets open, he attacks, he uses speed, he is really good after the catch, and he attacks the middle of the field. He's physical, so Bell can do it all. He's a solid guy. If you're not going to go get a guy that's just big for the sake of being big, and you want to go and get a playmaker, Kyle Lemon is a playmaker despite his small stature. And I think Chris Bell's one that I'd rather take a chance on, a playmaker who does have the size to go with it, but definitely not as fast as Lemon. Who else do I like in the draft? I'm sitting here naming all these people off the top of my head. Jeremy Bernard, the wide receiver out of Alabama. I really like him. I'm kind of partial to him as a guy that can make plays. KC Concepcion out of Texas A&M is a wild playmaker. I kind of comp him to who the Packers took, Matthew Golden. I kind of see a similarity there, except KC Concepcion can do the run after catch better. Concepcion's only 5'11", but man, that is a playmaker, and he's a returner. Uh, yeah, that's KC Concepcion. Yeah, he's one of those like Lad McConkey types too, where I think he's good at route running. I think he can get open fast because of his quickness, and then he's got the top end speed, and he can make a play after the catch, and he catches everything. Seems to be a big play all the time waiting to happen for Texas A&M. So I love KC Concepcion. That's one I would love to get, but you're not getting size when you get that guy. There's a few other guys I want to talk about. I got to think about it for a sec. Well, I do have a video about wide receivers that I did a month or two ago, and it's about more of low rated receivers, guys like Kevin Coleman out of Missouri or Aaron Anderson out of LSU, some smaller guys that I mentioned. The the receiver out of TCU named McAllister. I think his name's Daryl. I like him. He's got a lot going on with size. I think he's 6'4", 6'5" type. And he's got good speed for that size too. I've written a bunch of players down throughout the course of the year. I like CJ Daniels out of Miami. He used to be with LSU. He's 6'1", 6'2" type. He wouldn't be a bad day three pick. And who else do I like? I have to be careful not to include, players that aren't eligible in the draft. Reed Swanson out of Colgate. That's a guy that I'm pinning as an undrafted guy. Reed Swanson out of Colgate. I've said it. It's on the video. It's going to be here forever, and we'll see what happens with Reed Swanson out of the mammoth school that is Colgate. And yeah, Derek McAllister is the TCU guy. He's a big play waiting to happen, but he is inconsistent. So yeah, I didn't have anything prepared. I wanted to talk about the wide receivers and what are we going to do? And yeah, basically the point of the video is we might need to draft more than one. I think we need to go get a veteran because we need this room to be better. We need this room to have something. I don't want Tyler Shuck to have to go through what Spencer Rattler went through last year. I want Tyler Shuck to have something to work with here. So let's all just pray that our Bless You boys will find an offense with the current state at wide receiver. Can Tyler Shuck perform at a level that elevates the play of Mason Tipton and Kevin Austin Jr.? And Devon Bailey, for that matter? We're going to find out. I would really like to go and get at least one other guy, somebody that you can just trust, because even though Brandon Cooks hadn't done much for the Saints so far this year, as far as production on the field, I felt a little more comfortable. It was a safer environment, right, for Tyler Shuck to have a veteran there that he might end up in a game where you just got to feed a guy, feed him, feed him, feed him, and there's probably a connection there, and it's not there anymore. So I'd feel better go and get a veteran. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Should the Saints go and get a veteran just to improve the state of our current wide receiving room, which has four players, including perennial practice squad guys and Mason Tipton and Kevin Austin Jr. And Devon Bailey, who was seems to be a bust as a fourth round caliber type. Yeah, yeah. Let me know what you think. Do you think Dante Pettis or Mason Tipton's going to step up and then let me know what you think about the guys next year. Trey Palmer, if there's a chance Trey Palmer comes back this year, that would be nice to see in the last 7 games if we have a piece there. But next year we'll have him back. We'll have Bub Means back. We'll have Jalen Polk for the first time ever, all under contract. So let me know what you think about the wide receivers and who's your favorite one in the draft. I'm Joe. Subscribe to Roosevelt 10. It's Thanksgiving time right now. I work really hard at this time of the year. It's usually this week and next week that I'm just my Hind is whipped, and it's hard for me to find the time to produce much of anything, but I will be doing videos. They just might be kind of boring like this one, a little scatterbrained and all over the place. But I hope I gave you some good information and you let me know something too. I like to learn. And subscribe. It's free. And who dat. Until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?